Thank you so much, Colonel, for taking the time to come to see us here at the INCYBER Forum. I said it in the introduction, threats are evolving very rapidly. We're seeing more and more hybrid threats. But what is it that you're seeing on the ground?
Yes, so what we see is cyber and space. They have been warfighting domains for NATO a long time. But what we see now is that cyber really is part of every defensive action. So we really see it now integrated in every action. But more so, I would like to state that when you currently look at Iran, we now see for the first time that there's really a cyber war. This is an opponent that is definitely on the conventional part, not as strong as the US or Israel, but it is a very potent cyber opponent. And so we now see really for the first time that this is the first means of war, that cyber is becoming as the first means of war. And that should be today really a wake-up call for our industries, for our governments, because they see cyber as a strategy. They don't see it as a tool.
So, you know, drawing on this experience and what you're seeing, what would be the key lessons that people in the room should remember?
Yeah, so first after 9/11, the conclusion after that was that it was not so much that we weren't able to expect it, but we lacked imagination that something like that could happen. And asymmetric warfare is really about creativity, it's about surprise. And so what you see in Ukraine is that they drive their warfare on 3 points. It's about asymmetry, it's about effectiveness, and it's about, it's about affordability. So affordability is another really big factor because you can have many different small things and they can be just as effective as one big thing. And so you cannot really fight the war today with your old conventional thinking. And what I still see is many leaders, they are fixed in their imagination. So you must be able to imagine how you can be attacked, and that requires that you are that you make sure that around you you will get the right advice that is much broader than just your normal group. And the second lesson I would say is real urgency, because we see a lot of urgency on the military side. There's a lot of talk about, you know, all the defense systems that we need. But I would say that now today, that same urgency must be on your cyber side and on your critical infrastructure. So what does it mean? Today, if you are seeing how Iran is attacking us, if your critical infrastructure in your nation today is not resilient enough or doesn't have its cyber just basically in place, I think that is should be your first priority, and that's not something that you plan like it's going to be in a year. You want it ready in 2 months.
Mm-hmm. So NATO's role is fundamentally deterrence, right? So how can we strengthen the deterrence part, and should NATO adopt maybe a more offensive doctrine? Some have said that maybe we've been a little too naive or too on the defensive. What is your take on this? And perhaps also, because I think many people are asking themselves this question, NATO today also has members within NATO that aren't always aligned, I guess. So maybe also, how are you going about that?
Yeah, first of all, NATO is about deterrence and defense. So deterrence first. So I always say, well, you know, let's hope that we don't have to defend ourselves, because we want to prevent that. And that deterrence phase is not you know, a linear thing anymore, where we have an Article 5 and then we are doing defense, and just by being really good in defense, we will be deterrent. That is no longer the case. So what we have seen that NATO has developed its means on cyber in the offensive way when they have to defend themselves. But cyber is just much more than just another weapon system. So the naivety may be just a little bit in that, because I would say offensive capability without defensive resilience is not a strategy. So when you look again at the port of Rotterdam today in the Netherlands, this is really about your energy infrastructure, this is about your logistic infrastructure, and they are targets. And you need to take that seriously, because at the same time we see a proliferation of weapon systems that are very cheap, very affordable, and can reach very, very far. And so you now need to realize, okay, how am I getting the community together to do something against that? Because that will be my third lesson from the last question. We need to break those silos. So your government, your military, your industry sit together and inform each other, not enough, because you also must be able to do something. So for that you also need to discuss, okay, who's going to take action when? So that would be my advice.
Well, thank you very much, Colonel Groeneveld, for coming to the INCYBER Forum. It was a pleasure to hear about NATO's strategic and operational vision. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.